Hello and welcome to another vlog from Ginger Not Travelling Coffee Cup. Today's vlog, instead of focusing on space and space disasters and things of that nature, we're going to focus on something that's a bit more covered on the channel, which is aircraft. Today's accident slash disaster is still, to this day, February the 14th, 2021, the world's worst aviation accident slash disaster. Now, probably one of the main reasons why is because of the two planes that were involved, both of which were 747s. Now these are quite big planes, and most aviation companies in 2020 and 2021 have retired all of them. And actually I was at the last one to leave Manchester Airport, and I'll put a link to that video in the description down below. But back in 1977, the Boeing 747 was in its 8th year of service. Hadn't had major disasters before or since. Now, the two aircraft that were involved in this disaster were, one was from KLM, the other was from Pan Am. Pan Am have since ceased trading. KLM still flies to this day. Now, the two flights were KLM Flight 4805, which was a flight from Schiphol in Amsterdam in the Netherlands over to Gran Canaria. The other flight was Pan Am 1736, which was a flight from LAX via JFK to Gran Canaria, flown on Clipper Victor, and the KLM flight was flown on the aircraft known as Rhine. Now, while these planes were in the air at Gran Canaria Airport, a bomb was detonated by the Canary Islands Independence Movement. And they phoned it in and said, "I'll just let you know there's a second bomb, better go and find it." So, Gran Canaria Airport was closed, Las Palmas closed. So, air traffic control get in contact with KLM and Pan Am and say to them, "Would you mind awfully just divert into Tenerife?" Now, the KLM lands first, followed by the Pan Am. Now, Las Roderas Airport in Tenerife has one runway, one taxiway, and several taxiways off to get onto the main taxiway to the terminal. Now, all these planes that were meant to go to Gran Canaria are now landing in Tenerife. Where are you going to put them all? On the main taxiway. KLM at the front, Pan Am second. Now, the two captains in charge of these planes made different decisions. The KLM captain, Captain Van Zanten, decided, when he landed, to disembark all the passengers. The captain of the Pan Am flight, Captain Gubbs, chose not to. Everyone was going to stay on the plane. Who knows what could happen? Now, in this phase of disembarkation and waiting to take off, Captain Van Zanten made a decision that probably led to the disaster more than any other. He decided to top his plane up with fuel. Now, a Boeing 747 is quite large, so to fill one of those up, it's going to take a bit of time. But a fully laden 747 is going to take time to get up in the air after hitting the thrusters. Now, here's a strange twist of fate. During refueling, Las Palmas opened. So all these planes that are backed up behind them can go. And these planes were able to get round the Pan Am and the KLM, get down the runway, come back up and go. It's called a back taxi. Civilian aircraft don't normally do this. But the Pan Am, being a similar plane to the one that was in front, was too big to get round. Couldn't do the circle, well, the half circle to get round and go back up the runway. So they had to wait. Now, Captain Van Zanten is under pressure. Why? Because at the time, the Dutch government had a very strict overtime policy. Now, he needed to basically do a slash and dash. Take off from Tenerife, fly to Gran Canaria, then go back to Schiphol. Now, if he refueled in Gran Canaria, he couldn't do that, hence why he refueled in Tenerife. Now, he gave the order to get everyone back on board. The flight was delayed because they couldn't find a family. They eventually found them, but someone who was on the KLM flight who lived in Tenerife didn't get back on the plane because they were in Tenerife anyway. Well, go Tenerife, go back again. That decision saved their life. Now, during the refueling process, thick fog enveloped the airport, and Tenerife being in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and quite a mountainous island, fog's not unusual. But if the KLM hadn't refueled, both planes would have been able to taxi down the runway and take off in perfect takeoff condition weather. Twist of fate was, it didn't happen. So, Captain Van Zanten gets rid of the fuel truck, he drives off. Captain Van Zanten gets permission to do a back taxi, drive down one side of the runway, do a 180 turn, and wait for takeoff instruction. The 747 behind gets told, go down the runway, get off at one of the taxiways to basically follow once the KLM goes, to get back on the runway, do a 180, and go back, up in the air, and gone. Both captains agreed to do what they'd been told. Now, here's where the fate was sealed. The KLM captain completes his back taxi, faces it the way it's just come on its takeoff, and it's now ready for its takeoff run. The first officer on the KLM flight instructs the tower, right, we're ready for takeoff, let us know what you're going to do, or let us know when we can take off. The tower gave the KLM first officer the altitudes, the radio frequencies, and the directions to do once they've taken off. At no point during that radio communication did he say, you have clearance to take off. But for some reason, the KLM pilots took what they were told as, oh right, we can go then. So they hit the thrusters. The Boeing 747 at takeoff speed takes a lot of time to stop. Now, when the KLM have got this information, the Pan Am first officer goes, excuse me, we're still on the runway. Can you just wait? Now, unfortunately, due to the traffic of both aircraft and tower talking at the same time, this transmission was missed. At that point, there really was nothing stopping this disaster from happening. And out of the gloom, 2,000 feet in front of them, the Pan Am first officer and captain look out the window, and what do they see approaching? The front gear lights and the wing lights of the KLM at takeoff speed coming towards them. The captain turns his yoke and and floors it. Now, you might move the thrusters really quick in the cockpit, but you've got to get that transmission to the engines. It takes time. Time, unfortunately, the plane nor the captain had. Captain Van Zanten, in the faster KLM, sees the Pan Am, pulls back on his yoke. What he wanted to happen was the plane goes up and gone. But what's he just done? Refueled. His plane's fully laden with fuel, so that plane ain't taking off anytime soon. The landing gear of the KLM hits the Pan Am broadside. So you're in the Pan Am, the KLM's done that. The KLM comes back down to earth, skids about 1,000 feet, and bursts into flames. No one on board the plane, on board the KLM, survived. All of them dead. Amazingly, 61 people out of the Pan Am flight survived, got out. The person that chose not to get on the KLM flight after it had landed saved their own life. Could you imagine that happening? It's something you just would. It's a twist of fate you wouldn't normally expect. The total death toll of that crash was 583 people. And as I've said previously, individually, the decisions that were made that day, individually, don't cause a crash. Put them all together, there's your crash. Now, the aftermath. Fortunately, there's not been a crash this deadly since. As we know, there's been terror attacks since then that have claimed more lives. But there's never been a crash at an airport that has caused this much devastation. And what happens now is the word takeoff isn't used until you are given final clearance to go. Up until you get to the threshold of the runway and you're allowed to go, the word departure is used. Now, the KLM plane was destroyed. There was nothing left of it at all. The Pan Am plane was basically written off. And a little bit of history about this particular Boeing 747 that Pan Am had. It had previously been the first 747 commercial flight and the first Boeing 747 involved in a hijacking. Now this hijacking, doing a bit of research, was on a flight from JFK to Puerto Rico. The hijacker didn't really want to go to Puerto Rico. He forced the plane to land in Havana, Cuba. Now, way back in the 70s and early 60s, or late 60s, the relationship between America and Cuba wasn't exactly the greatest. But no one was killed, not a shot fired. The plane left Havana after the pilot had taken Fidel Castro, or President Castro, around the plane, or showed him the plane. Didn't take him in. So that plane had two major events happen to it. the second of which is most remembered for. Now, next week's vlog is going to be about a disaster that basically finished Pan Am off as an airline. A disaster that's known worldwide by the name of the town that it happened above. I'm going to go into the chain of events that happened up to it and the aftermath of it next week. But this is the end of today's vlog. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, comment, and also hit the notification bell, as it really does help the channel. And yeah, I hope to see you all in the next one.